80 million years ago, disaster came to a world ruled by dinosaurs. It came in waves of sand and wind that buried every creature alive. For eons, the dinosaurs lay entombed in a place that would one day be called the Gobi Desert, in a country named Mongolia. Among the dead was one of the strangest dinosaurs that ever lived. It was called Oviraptor. It was swift, smart, lethal. Now only bones tell us about its life and the vicious world it lived in. The bones have given us a glimpse of those ancient times. A dim reflection of life before history. But there is more to the story. Still hidden in the vast emptiness of the Gobi. Now, an ambitious expedition is traveling to that distant desert to uncover the secrets of the Oviraptor's world. They don't exactly look like scientists. Often they're mistaken for each other. But Mike Novacek leads the expedition, along with colleague Mark Norell. They could be taken for surfers, but they're from the American Museum of Natural History. Scientists piecing together an ancient jigsaw puzzle of evolution and extinction.
To me, it's so obviously important. I'm so emotionally bound up in this. I can't imagine why a knowledge of our history, of where we come from, isn't important to a human experience. Could you imagine what it would be like to live in the late 20th century and not know that extinction actually existed?
There's also just a sense of discovery. I mean, every bone that we find tells us something about how the world was 80 million years ago, which is pretty neat. Just having a sense of history of what the planet was like and what the planet has gone through, I think just increases our appreciation for our own existence.
Mike and Mark are about to journey to the sun-scorched badlands of the Gobi. It's a desolate area, 500,000 dusty square miles of sand, scrub, and red rock cliffs. But it's a paleontologist version of heaven, for this is where the Oviraptors lived and died, and lay untouched in the earth for millennia. Then in 1922, one of the most famous scientific expeditions in history wound its way toward Mongolia's dinosaur graveyard. Its leader was a charismatic and controversial explorer named Roy Chapman Andrews. Like Mark and Mike, he came from the American Museum of Natural History. But Andrews was an incurable publicity hound and a scientific cowboy. Where his paleontologist used a camel hair brush, Andrews hacked away with a pickaxe. But he found one of the richest dinosaur boneyards in the world. He returned with a spectacular collection of fossils and a library of stunning film images. But in the 1920s, communists seized power in Mongolia. The open door to the West slammed shut. For the next 65 years, the fabulous fossil fields of the Gobi were forbidden territory. Now everything's changed. Only token symbols of Russia's domination remain. Finally, Western scientists can return.
What about, we don't want those onions? They
rot.
too
They
fast?
rot in 2 days. So I don't know what we're
Mark
gonna do.
and Mike were among the first scientists allowed in. They're now back for their 6th expedition with the Mongolian Academy of Sciences.
3 kilos?
3 kilos.
3 kilos.
Yeah.
All right, ready to rock.
I'm ready to roll.
They have just enough supplies for a short month and a long way to go. Retracing Andrew's footsteps on their way to one of the richest concentrations of fossils in the world, a place called Ukatolgad. Over a vast span of time, Ukatolgad was ruled by dinosaurs.
Dinosaur history can be thought of as a great empire that lasted a few 100 million years. That's a significant slice of the history of life.
Imagine that time from the moment the dinosaurs appeared till now is a single day. At midnight, dinosaurs first walked the earth. They're flourishing at noon. They don't go extinct until 5 in the afternoon. Time passes. The first modern man finally appears a minute and a half before midnight. All of our recorded history takes 3.5 seconds. In the Gobi, time seems to have stood still.
The Gobi is such a big place, and it basically has no life support system. We really have to bring everything with us. So all our food, all our fuel, which we're carrying in a fuel tanker, all our supplies have to be treated like we're actually exploring a polar region.
In such a vast area, success is never certain. Even getting there can be a nightmare. Roy Chapman Andrews thought he'd solved the problem in the 20s with a new piece of technology.
When it was announced that we were to attempt a scientific exploration of the Gobi Desert with a fleet of motor cars, men said that we were little less than fools. Only camels had been used in that country. We had 40 men, 8 motor cars, and 150 camels to carry supplies. It was the biggest land scientific expedition ever to leave the United States. Roy Chapman Andrews.
From China, Andrews headed northwest. He left Peking, then crossed over the border, and drove deep into the parched heart of outer Mongolia.
Mongolia, a land of painted deserts dancing in mirage. Mongolia, a land of mystery, of paradox and promise. A thirsty land, a land of desolation. Gazelles, wild asses, and wolves ranged the marching sands. Few explorers had been there, and they brought back tales of thirst, cold, and hunger.
But Andrews found one more thing: mud.
Our average speed was only 4 miles an hour. Rocks, ravines, washouts, and ditches followed one another in rapid succession.
one might imagine that the roads have gotten better. They have not. And even modern Jeeps aren't built for a desert like the Gobi.
We have an electrical problem, and we don't know what it is. It's not a very complicated wiring plan. A Russian Jeep. It's not like a Japanese or American car.
They're up and running, but next, it's a truck's turn.
Piston, huh? We think it's piston number 6.
A critical breakdown could have severe consequences.
End of the expedition, if not the end of our lives.
Maybe we'll make it. Oh, God.
With the nearest gas station some 500 miles away and time already getting tight, things will have to go smoothly from now on.
Oh, we're having some mechanical problems. We think it's a fuel pump, but we're not sure.
This could be way bad. Could be.
It seems to me I got this thing in there without doing the twisty deal.
Maybe we'll tow it or
Abandon it. Get on with it.
we can't stay here more than a day.
After more than 12 breakdowns, the vehicles all decide to run at the same time. As they enter the dusty dinosaur fields of the Gobi, they're traveling a long way, backwards in time. Dinosaurs first appeared some 230 million years ago in a world with a different face. The creatures were thriving 100 million years later as South America and Africa split apart. About 75 million years ago, in the late Cretaceous period, dinosaurs began to disappear, leaving only bones behind. Their bones were more motionless than the continents. Then in the 1920s, Roy Chapman Andrews came to a remote place in the Gobi Desert he would name the Flaming Cliffs.
It was a likely-looking place. There appeared to be medieval castles with spires and turrets, brick red in the evening light, colossal gateways, walls and ramparts. A labyrinth of ravines and gorges studded with fossil bones make a paradise for the paleontologist. Without a doubt, there were hundreds of bones lying just beneath the surface. But where? If only my eyes could pierce that baffling surface and get a glimpse of what lay concealed.
Within minutes, they were finding fossils. Andrews and his team had stumbled onto the mother lode of dinosaur bones. They discovered the remains of some 200 different animals, many of them completely new species. The fossils revealed a world that Andrews found alien and terrifying.
Dinosaurs were the sort of creatures you might think of as inhabiting another planet, or the kind you dream of in a bad nightmare.